morning, everyone. Hope you are all well. Thank you for joining us today. For the scope of our practice today, we're going to be working through a Yin and Yang practice. So starting out on the Yang side with more dynamic vinyasa type flows, focusing more on strength, stability, and your foundation. And then transitioning into the latter half of our class where we'll be focusing on a number of Yin asanas. So much more passive, longer duration holds, allowing gravity to really do a lot more of the work for you. Now that all being said, as far as props for today's practice are concerned, I'd like you to have 2 yoga blocks or 2 good tall stacks of books, and then 2 to 4 pillows, depending on their overall thickness. So if you do have fairly thin back sleeper pillows, I would recommend a number of them to help build us up to the point where they'll allow us to be more comfortable in a number of forward folds. Additional to this, I would also advise you have 2 thick bath towels, or up to 4, depending on, of course, how thick your bath towels are and how tight your hips are. Okay, with at least a number of bath towels and pillows, the combination of these elements will help us to find overall a more gratifying experience when we do settle into those yin type asanas. So, we're going to begin at the center of our mat, facing forward. So you go ahead and turn to face the top of the mat if you're not already. And from your comfortable seated posture, we'll just take a slow transition into our tabletop. So rocking forward, plant your palms in front of your shins, and step your knees back, standing them directly beneath your hip sockets. So with the toes pointed away, lengthen back through your big toes in particular. Okay, this awareness of the big toes helps us to connect more so to the strength and stability of our inner thighs. As you radiate back through your big toes, plant down through your palms and push into the hands enough to create a sense of lightness through the back of your ribs. Marjari Asana, cat's breathing. Let your ribs drop. Draw the heads of the arm bones back, and as you lift your eyes toward the heavens, take a deep breath into the tops of your lungs. Exhaling to curl, rounding your spine and squeeze the belly to help puff the kidneys up into the heavens. Inhale, back bending, the heart opens, drawing forward through the column. Exhale, point your tailbone and the crown of your head at the mat. One more time. Inhale, softening your face, relaxing your jaw. Exhale, let the sides of the neck melt away as the crown dangles. Now, cat's breathing into dog. Inhale, open your heart, gazing forward. Tuck your toes, feet hip width, straighten the legs, reach down your hamstrings and heels. Dropping your knees, point your toes away. Cat, inhale, find that opening through the chest. Tuck your toes, dog, hamstrings to heels, stretch down the backs of your legs. Once more. Knees hit the mat, collarbones wide. Inhale, lift your eyes to the heavens. Exhale, draw down the backs of the legs as they straighten. And checking in with your foundation, as you should have a sense of standing equally through your 2 hands and your 2 feet, even if your heels are not on the floor. But if you find that there's a lot more effort in the upper body, you can always modify your stance by bringing a little bit of a bend into your knees, or potentially walking the feet just a couple inches closer to your hands. Now, alternately bending your knees, pedal out the legs, as you breathe awareness down toward your heels, noticing any obvious difference between the 2 sides of the body, and also getting a little more attuned to the resistance in your hamstring muscles. You let that pedaling movement grow more and more still. And with an inhale, lifting up to the tips of your toes, draw your sitting bones way up into the sky, gazing to navel. Exhale, reach down the backs of the legs, stretch your heels into the floor. Look up between your hands and then begin to step or hop your way up to the top of the mat. Big toes connected once you arrive. So forward fold vinyasa. Lengthening the spine with an inhale, lift part way, either fingertips to earth or hands to shins. Melt down, look toward your belly button. Slowly lengthening on the inhale, soften the webbing between your toes. Exhale, melting in, weight rolls forward. One more. Lengthening out, draw your heart away from your hips. Exhale, lift your hips toward the sky. Bend your knees a little, let your spine dangle and round. 1 vertebra at a time. Begin to stack your way up to tall, arms by your sides in equal standing. So reach down strongly through the tips of your fingers. anchored down through the inner margins of your heels. Surya Namaskar A. With an inhale, as you push through your feet, lift your arms overhead. Gaze up toward your thumbs, keeping your neck long. Folding down, roll the weight forward, toes are soft. Halfway up we go with an inhale, heart draws forward. Bend your knees as you plant your palms, back you go. Step or hop to slowly lower. Cobra or upward facing, heart drawing forward, over those 10 toes, downward facing. Adjust the width of your stance from front to back in order to get that solid foundation for yourself. And then as you press equally through your hands and your feet, work to draw the knees and thighs up into hips. The hips back to the wall behind you. One more exhalation. As you conclude that breath, looking forward, inhale to the top of the mat, lengthening your spine. With that same breath, fold as you empty. Ride the inhalation into the heavens, arms high, arms back by your sides, looking over the horizon. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Your hands are upwards. Exhale, fold down, roll the weight forward. Long spine, open heart. Glue the shoulder blades in the back of the ribs as you step or hop back. Heart drawn forward, 10 toes reaching to the back wall. Roll over those 10 toes all at once if you can. If you're not quite there yet though, the flexibility in the tops of the feet perhaps not what we would like to find that easy transition, then you can always step over the feet one at a time. And in time though, the toes will grow more flexible and the ability to smoothly roll over the feet much more readily available. Last exhalation, heart to thighs, and then inhale, step or hop to the top. Draw your heart away from your hips, and then with all that length, dive down into your forward fold. Rising as you fill with the breath, gaze high, arms back by your sides. One more time, traditional Surya A. Lift on the inhale, Uttanasana, head to knees, exhale. Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lengthen. Chaturanga Dandasana, step or hop your way back, four-limb staff, straight as a board. Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, upward facing dog. Roll over your toes, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Breathing deeply from tail to crown with every inhale. Heart to hips, every exhale. As you conclude this next out breath, looking forward, use your inhalation to transition. Long spine once you've arrived. Bring your crown right down to your toes. Up we go, sweeping into the sky, gaze high. Equal standing posture. Resist the temptation to fidget for 2 breaths. Noticing perhaps that elevated heat within the body. And of course, bringing your breath back into symmetry. Malasana. Pressing through your feet, lift your arms overhead with a deep breath. Hinging forward, fold over the thighs, head to knees. Now when we lengthen the spine this time, toe heel step your feet the width of your hips. Bending your knees, sit down low into our yogic squat. Now, of course, if your knees are on the fragile side, placing a block beneath your hips will help to alleviate any unnecessary pressure on the knee joint. Pushing your palms together, begin to lift your heart up into the space. So we're lengthening the spine, yet simultaneously, there's a sense of tucking through the back of your hips, as if stretching your tailbone down into the floor between your heels. If you really feel very stuck, very congested within the hips, you can always sway a little bit from side to side as you consciously press down through your feet more and more. Breathing all the time through those areas of congestion. 2 more breath cycles, hips dropping down and back, heart and front body moving up. Now we'll take a transition. So pressing the elbows out sideways, bring the palms of your hands down to the floor, shoulder width position, middle fingers parallel. As the elbows splay out sideways, push your shins right into the triceps to lift your hips and heels. Stage 1, hover, stepping back, or stage 2, catch a little air time in crow with your inhale, and then step or hop your way back. Lowering through your flow in time, knees, chest, chin, or straight as a board. Cobra or upward facing, heart draws forward, rolling over those toes, downward facing dog. Look up between your hands, and with a step or light hop, come to sit upon your hips, sending both legs out before you. So we're going to be utilizing our two blocks if you have them available. If you're working with books, stack them up so they're about 4 or 5 inches thick, but equally so on either sides of your hips, so they're there for you when you need them. Bending your knees, draw the heels in close to the hips as you cradle beneath the knees, holding onto the hamstrings. Navasana. So let the weight shift into your sitting bones. Now be mindful that your sitting bones are these two bony knuckles at the bottom of your hips. Your tailbone, that single point, is too far back. So as we roll the weight forward toward the sitting bones, you can begin to lift your feet just partly off of the earth to hover. And we'll call that stage 1. Stage 2, like Amber's doing now, shins parallel to the earth while still gently holding onto the hamstrings, as this will help you to straighten your spine, lifting the back of the heart through the front of the chest. Stage 3, perhaps the arms extend parallel to the shins. And then stage 4, only if you can keep your back flat and a smile on your face, you can straighten your legs. But that pretty much wraps up our first round. Cross your legs, dropping the feet to the floor. Place your hands on your blocks close to your hips. Push the arms straight with an inhale to lift your hips. Maybe you can tuck your tail and try and lift your knees, lift your feet, and release. As you sit back down, bring your knees together. Holding behind the hamstrings, find your sitting bones as the spine lifts tall. Crown of the head radiating. Stage 2, shins parallel to earth. Stage 3, arms extend parallel to your shins. And then stage 4, maybe one day extending legs towards straight for our traditional Navasana, boat posture. Keep your eyes on the toes as the inner thighs hug for 3. Keep your breath calm and deliberate for 2. And then 1. Cross the legs, plant the palms in your blocks. With an inhale, lift your hips. Exhaling, tuck your tail, draw your knees toward your shoulders. Try to lift those feet and release. Hips back down, knees together. Last round in Navasana, finding the variation of the posture that you can sustain without overt struggle, without compromising alignment. So yes, you may be able to push the legs straight, but if this causes you to round your back, then don't do it. Maintaining the integrity of the spine is integral to keeping the body safe and developing and growing within the practice. Cross up the legs, plant your palms, inhale, hips rise, exhale, tuck your tail, try to lift the knees, try to lift the feet, and sit. Move your blocks out sideways off of your mat. Rolling over your feet, step back into your vinyasa. Cobra or upward facing dog, nice to release through the front of the hips, the hip flexors in particular. Downward facing dog, looking to the top of the mat. Make your way forward. Long spine once you've arrived, and then a very gratifying forward fold, soften your toes. Lift up tall, arms sweep to sky. Arms back by your sides. Equal standing posture, 2 breaths, check back in. So now that we've cultivated a bit more awareness of our core stability through boat, this is going to help us much more in the next posture, Utkatasana. So be sure that your feet are together first. We want the big toes touching so that the knees will stay connected. Bending your knees, sit down into your hips, and with an inhale, lift your arms up overhead. Okay. If you're having difficulty keeping the spine upright, then interlace your first 3 fingers. This will take some weight out of the upper body, alleviating strain in the shoulders, which will then make it easier for you to bring the spine tall. Sit up as high as you can, and then without falling forward anymore, try to drop your hips back and down toward the back edge of your mat. For 3. And listening to your breath as you push strength through your feet. 2. Notice as you push the feet down, you should feel like you want to get taller. Last inhale. Vinyasa, hands down, head to knees. Take your time, lengthen the spine, step or hop your way back, elbows nice and close. Drawing the heart forward, toes away, downward facing dog. Look back up to the top of the mat, making your way forward with an inhale. Dive down, keep your toes soft. Bend the knees. Utkatasana, inhale, arms up. As you exhale, push the legs straight, arms by your sides. Surya Namaskar, beat. Knees bent. Inhale, hips low, arms high. Forward folding, head to legs. Draw length into the spine, stepping or hopping your way back. From here, you can go through your full flow, or if you need to modify and adapt the vinyasa, do so to whatever degree feels right. Lifting the right leg with our inhalation. Draw your hips back, exhale, set your foundation as you step forward. Warrior one, hips are low, face is soft, hands back down. So traditionally, the exhale plants your palms and takes you into chaturanga. Inhale, fill up the tops of your lungs, over your toes. So when we inhale, the left leg high, stretch way back, and then exhale, a lot of time to set your foundation. Hips sinking as you rise, vinyasa to downward facing dog, taking rest once you arrive. So right away, steady your eyes, gazing past the tip of your nose as if looking into your navel center. As well as keeping the eyes steady, keep them soft, relaxing and melting the backs of the eyes. As you conclude this exhalation, look forward. With your inhale, up to the top we go, long spine, forward folding, head to knees. You ride that inhalation up into the sky as the knees bend. Exhaling, straighten up, arms by your sides. Utkatasana, bend your knees. Inhale, sit low as you lift, folding forward, head to legs. Lengthen out fully, pull your hips back, step or hop into your flow. Upward facing, inhale, rolling over toes, downward facing. Lift the right leg with a deep breath, and then step. Equally standing through your feet as you sit the hips low, warrior one. Exhale, hands shoulder width when they hit the mat. Deep breath, draw the heart forward, over your 10 toes. Inhale, left leg high. Exhale, step. Warrior one, the roof of your mouth is relaxed, as should be your face, traveling to downward dog. And then once you arrive in downward facing dog, you can stay put for our 4 remaining breaths, or you're welcome to transition into child's pose. If that's going to be a little more restorative, and allow you to equalize that deliberate rhythm of in-breath and out. We're arriving at our last exhalation, and when that breath is concluded, looking forward, make your way up to the top of the mat with a step or hop, long spine, bow down, head to knees. Bend those knees, sit low as the thighs hug into one, arms by your side, equal standing. Last time. Inhale, fierce posture. Exhale, forward fold. Lengthen, fill with the breath, floating back, descend with control. Inhale, inner thighs to heaven. Exhale, lifting that right leg, full breath, step. Press through the inner margin of your right foot as you lift, and then exhale, hands down. Full breath, lift your crown high, over the toes for left side. So as that left foot steps forward, anchor the big toe mound down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, flow. Pushing through heels in chaturanga as you descend. Upward facing or cobra. Downward facing dog or child's pose for 5. Lengthen your exhalations to arrive at a symmetry between in-breath and out. 3. Back of the heart melting toward the knees in downward dog. Back of the heart melting toward the floor in child. And this will be our last exhalation. Looking forward on your inhale, make your way up to the top. Dive down, head to toes. Bend those knees, sit low as the thighs hug close. Straighten up, arms by your sides. placing your hands upon your waist. With a step or a light hop, open your feet the width of your hips, but gazing down, be certain that your second toes are parallel to one another. So the thumbs at the back of the hips should help to give you a little tuck of your tailbone. Push the bum down, lift the front body up with an inhale, and then pull your hips way back, folding forward. Grab a hold of your big toes with your index and your middle finger, bending the knees however much you need to accommodate. If you cannot reach your big toes today, then just grab a hold of your ankles. Lengthen the spine, soften your toes with an inhale. Exhale, gently draw forward. You're rolling the weight into the forefeet as the crown of your head lengthens into the earth beneath you. Last exhale. Straighten your arms with an inhale, pause. Place your hands on your waist. On the next inhale, rise all the way up with your hands on your hips. Use the thumbs, tuck that tail. Sweep your arms out wide at shoulder height. Take them behind you and interlace your fingers. Drawing the arm bones straight, lift your heart. Exhale, pull your hips back and begin to fold. Now keeping the wrists close to the hips until you're inverted. So when your head and your heart are below your hip line, start to draw the wrists away from the small of your back. But be thoughtful that your arm bones are lifting into the sky so your neck can remain relaxed. If you're not certain, you can always shake your head no, shake it out yes. Taking 2 more breaths into the arm bones, rolling that weight forward just a little more. As you end your exhale, place your hands on your hips. Inhale, come all the way up to tall. The thumbs remind you to tuck that tail just a little. One more time. Inhale, tall, open your heart. Exhale, fold, tucking your hands underneath your feet. So traditionally, we're gonna go from the front of the foot so your fingertips are beneath your heels and your toes are climbing up your wrist joint. Okay, if this is too far away for you to achieve, then again, just grab the ankles. Lengthen and fold. Visualize your inner thigh muscles. Imagine that you could push the inner thigh of your left leg, shifting the thigh bone out sideways. Push the inner thigh of the right leg, shifting out sideways. So the thigh bones and the hips in general are widening apart from center. 2 more breaths. Neatly sliding your shoulder blades into your hips as your neck loosens. Now, thoughtfully untuck your hands. With the fingertips on the floor, lengthen your spine halfway and then pause. Exhale, hands to waist. Inhale, rise all the way up to tall, stepping your feet together, arms by your sides. Traveling to downward facing dog. Lift as you fill, fold as you empty. Once you lengthen your spine halfway up, you're welcome to step straight back or go through your flow. Virabhadrasana 2. Lifting the right leg into the sky with an inhale, bend your knee, roll your hips open, step up. Dropping your back heel at about 45 degrees, let the left arm windmill you up, opening your wings at shoulder height as you then turn your gaze out over the middle finger of your right hand. Keeping the eyes fixed upon the middle finger will help you to focus inwardly. We're not so attentive to how the pose looks, much more so as to how the pose feels. Where you're restricted. Where can you cultivate a little more space as you deepen your inhales, lengthen your exhales. Now the back leg in particular is going to anchor us into the next posture, so push strongly through the outer heel of your left foot, hinging forward, right elbow to right thigh for side angle. As the elbow connects with the thigh, stretch your left arm out beside your ear, and as much as the left arm reaches forward, sink the shoulder blade back into the hip. Now, belly twisting primarily, while right foot pushes down and forward. Last exhalation, eyes gazing to earth. Inhale, warrior 2. Pull yourself back up, sink back into that lunge. Good. Left hand to left thigh, a little reverse. Inhale, roll back. Windmill your hands to the floor, stepping into your vinyasa. Switching to our left side, lift that left leg high, bend the knee, roll your hips open. Exhale, step between the hands as the back heel drops. Like a windmill, right arm draws you up to open your wings, looking out over the middle finger of left hand. Feeling your 2 feet equally pushing not only down into the earth, but away from each other, as if you're stretching your mat long from front to back, using that force of the lower body. Let the inhalation spread from heart to fingers, from hips to toes. Then bringing that extra attention into your back leg. Push the outer right heel to the mat. With an exhale, casually leaning forward for side angle, left elbow to left thigh initially. So more and more strength, anchoring down through the right side body, as we then twist the belly open, turning the right hip back, and the left hip tucks under. Facilitating that tuck of the left hip by imagining your left thigh is twisting toward your pinky toe for 2 more breath cycles. As you conclude an exhale, look at the floor for balance. Inhale, pull yourself up to warrior 2. Staying low in the hips, right hand back, inhale, reverse, and then plant the palms shoulder width as you step back to dog or drop into your flow. Soaking that up for a moment. And then closing off the vinyasa. Look forward and with an inhale, step or hop to the top. Stretch the heart forward, hips back. Dive down, hips to sky. Tall spine lifts us, reach up high. Equal standing, arms by your sides. Grabbing a hold of your waist, bend your knees just a little bit. With an inhale, step out to your left, opening your feet about a meter apart. Okay, so feet will be parallel initially, pivoting to the right side, right foot to the top of the mat. Left heel swings out just a little, so that foot is at about a 45-degree angle. Sweep your arms out well to the sides for triangle as the right hip pulls back. Grab for your shin, block, ankle or big toe with the right hand, as you then roll the upper body back, keeping it stacked atop the right thigh. So we're always aiming to find this equal action of opposition, pushing down through the bones of your feet, lifting the muscular energy of the legs up. So equally rooting as you simultaneously rise for 2 more breath cycles. Feeling the stretch, left hip, left belly or back. Turn your gaze to the earth with an exhale. Pushing through your feet, pull yourself back up. Feet parallel first. And then left toe out 90 degrees to the left. Turn the right foot in slightly. Stretching the arms long, left hip pulls back and left. Grabbing shin, block, ankle, many possibilities. Now once you find that connection between your hand and your leg, draw your left shoulder down into the hip as you draw your left hip back and away. Listening to breath. Eyes down when you exhale. Rise up with the inhale. Hands on the hips, turn your feet parallel to one another, and then widen your stance out 2 steps. Sweeping the arms out wide, fold forward and grab your big toes. Once more, if the big toes are too far away, grab hold of those ankles. So long spine, lift part way. Exhale, bend your elbows toward the ceiling, let your head fall. Knees, thighs are lifting toward the heavens. Shoulders, elbows, likewise, moving in the same direction, drawing up toward the ceiling above. One more exhale, brings the heart down between the thighs. Inhale, arms straight, hands beneath your shoulders. Stay for your whole exhalation. Grab your hips and then rise on the inhale. Let's sweep the arms out now to shoulder height. Take them back behind you, interlace your fingers. But notice that you probably did what you always do, whatever feels natural. So, switching the interlace, your opposite thumb and opposite index finger will be uppermost. Draw the heart open as the arms straighten, hinging forward. Once you're upside down, begin to release the wrists away from the hips, while the hips themselves climb up towards the ceiling above you. Toes soft for 3. Neck and face relaxed for 2. Last exhale, reaching wrist toward earth. Hands to hips. Inhale, lift up to tall. Pause. One more variation. Sweeping arms out wide with an inhale, swan dive forward, grabbing the outer edges of your feet. And once more, if the feet are too far away, holding onto ankles or shins. Now, if you are able to grab the outer edges of your feet, tuck your 4 fingers underneath the instep of the foot from the outside. Long spine. And then elbows widening as they lift to heaven. Shoulders climbing up into your hips. Let the spine soften. Let the spine fall. Nurturing those inner hamstring muscles. 2 more breaths. Really try to breathe down the inseams. And once you conclude your exhale, place your hands on the floor beneath your shoulders, just lifting part way. Catch the waist, and with the next inhale, rise to tall, stepping lightly to the top of the mat, feet together, arms by your sides. So if the hamstring muscles are a little restrictive, it will be to your benefit for our next sequence to have your 2 blocks ready when you need them at the top of your mat. From here now, we're going to make our way into downward facing dog. Anchoring the tailbone, lift your arms high, fold forward, heads and knees. Long spine first, open heart, step or hop your way back directly or through your flow. So drawing right leg up into the sky, pull your hips way back, step up into a lunge. Now lifting to your fingertips in this lunging posture, hop your left foot up to the halfway point on your mat for Parsvottanasana. So right away, if you're noticing that you're not able to straighten the right leg, go ahead and bring both of your blocks back in line with your forward foot, your right foot. Now as you lift up to the fingertips, bringing a little more space between you and the right thigh, maneuver your hips back. So if you reach back with one hand, your 2 hips should be in the same line. You should be able to balance a teacup upon them. Push down through the feet even more as you lessen the effort of the arms, and then melting, softening as the heart falls. So your hands may be on the earth or on your blocks, helping to aid in the alignment of your upper body and to create a little bit of support. But all the weight of the posture should ground through your feet. Okay, so standing consciously through the right and left foot alike as you pull your hips back more for 3 breaths. Gazing in toward your right knee, softening all 10 toes. Now as we lengthen halfway up with an inhale, grounding the left hand fully into the floor or to your block, place your right hand on your hip. And lengthen the spine out first, and then begin to turn your belly to the right, looking at the side wall to start. If your neck comfortably allows you to turn your gaze fully toward the ceiling, then you're welcome to do so, in which case the right arm can extend into revolving triangle posture. Continue to bring the weight back into your left heel more and more to keep the foundation of your hips neutral in this posture. It's from that neutral foundation that the twist slowly and progressively unfolds. One more exhalation. This will be your deepest twist. Inhale, hands to the floor, shoulder width. Scoot your blocks out of the way. Step back into your flow or directly to downward dog. Upward dog. As you push the arms straight, hug the shoulders to spine. Roll over your toes. Left side. Lifting the leg high, inhale, step to a lunge. Rising to your fingertips, In breath, hop the right foot to the halfway point of the mat as you attempt to straighten both legs. If that is challenging, placing the blocks beneath the palms as you square the hips, shifting to that neutral point. Fold forward as you're able, dropping the gaze to the knee and softening through the 10 toes. Just by bringing awareness down to your toes and attempting to relax them will help you to intuitively adjust your hips. Enjoy the feeling of your breath cascading down through the back of your left hip, hamstrings and calves. Last exhale, fold in just a little deeper. And then straightening the arms. We're going to ground the right hand to block or earth inside the foot, left hand to waist. So get as long as possible, crown away from tail, and then turn your belly. Eyes to the side wall initially as the back of your heart moves toward the wall behind you. If the ceiling is visible, in that case, left arm extending as you really allow the fullest expression of the twist to unfold. Left hip, low back, breathe, expanding and contracting. Remember to keep your face relaxed. One more exhalation will be your deepest twist, and then releasing your left hand to the floor. Shift your blocks out of the way. Lengthening the spine with an inhale, step back from plank position, either lower or just lift your hips up high. So we have one more yang asana before we shift to our more yin or more calming passive portion of our sequence today. So returning to the top of the mat with an inhale, step or hop, bring that length into your spine, and then bow down, head to knees. Rising up, reach the arms into the sky, exhaling back by your sides. So if you do have a mirror nearby, this would be a good time to set yourself up facing that mirror to help with the overall structural positioning of Garudasana, eagle. So the big toes connected. Bring the palms of your hands together at heart center. Bending your knees deeply, with an inhale, sweep the arms up overhead. Exhale, twist right elbow beneath left. Stay low as our next breath draws the right leg up and crosses the thigh over top, attempting to hook your foot behind the calf muscle. If that's not happening, just point the toes to the back of your mat. Now roll back as much as you can, lifting your upper body tall as your inner thighs squeeze together. So if you have the benefit of a mirror right before you, we would like to see that the two hips are in an even horizon, as should be the two shoulders. Lift your elbows a little higher as the shoulders sink down. Relax your neck, your jaw, and the roof of your mouth. Last exhalation, sit just a little lower. Return to equal standing, feet together, arms high. Exhale, arms by your sides. Take a breath. Palms of the hands converging in heart center, big toes touching. Sit into your hips low. And with an inhale, circling arms overhead. Exhale, left elbow beneath the right. Draw that left thigh up into the sky and then crossing over, see if you're able to hook that foot. So try to lessen some of the overt effort. Relax your face, relax your jaw, and then breathing more smoothly. Observe the distance, the difference between the inhale and the exhale. Sinking just a little bit lower for your last out breath. And then up we go. Feet together, lift the arms high, swan dive, head to knees. Lengthen yourself out with the inhalation. Make your way through your vinyasa, wiping your slate clean. And this is essentially our last dynamic flow. And checking back in with your breath. Now setting up sleeping swan, variation of one-legged pigeon. Now we're going to begin with the left leg today. So as you lift your left knee up into the sky, bend it, roll open, and then exhale, sweep your left knee up behind your left wrist. So we're going to start with a lot of support here. In particular, if the knee feels a little tight or a little restrictive here, you're going to slide a block underneath your left hip. Now, if this does not alleviate the pressure and you're still feeling a great deal of discomfort on the knee, I want you to roll down onto your back and cross your left ankle over your right thigh as you interlace the fingers around the right shin. This way you can draw in slowly to find the opening within the back of the left hip without compromising your knee. Now, if you do not need the block in this position, you're welcome to draw that block out of the way. And then having your pillows nearby, go ahead and stack a couple up before you. So as we now bow forward with an exhalation, you can drape your upper body over those cushions. Now, since we're practicing left knee forward, once you lower down, turn to your right ear. Now, thoughtfully observe if you're falling forward into your upper body. If so, try to wiggle your right leg back a little further. So in general, the emphasis of the pose is not dropping forward, but instead is sinking equally down through the heart and through the hips. Softening the biting surfaces of your teeth. Relaxing the backs of your eyes. Savor and enjoy every breath. The majority of the resistance will probably be in your hips. And this is where you should isolate the inhale and exhale. Now in time, as you can emphasize the hips breathing more effectively, at that point the breath can spread more globally through your posture, expanding eventually from the hips to the crown as much as out through the toes. But the further and further the breath spreads within the posture, the more developed your concentration needs to be. So work with where you are today, meditating on breath, while you allow the body to unfold within the posture. Yin postures are traditionally held for considerably longer periods of time than our more dynamic yang poses. So this means if you are already finding a great deal of resistance, and if your mind is already coming up with excuses to fidget, to move, or to escape, then that means you went into the pose too deeply to start. Readapt the posture. We're only about halfway through on this side. So be certain that you are in a comfortable discomfort. As every exhale melts and changes the inner landscape. Three more breaths. If there's anything that you're holding on to, this is the opportunity to let it go. Placing your hands upon the floor, keep your head heavy. Pushing the arm bone straight, round up, move your cushions forward and out of the way. Okay, if you're on your back, roll up to sit. If you're in pigeon, drop into your left hip. Bring your back leg up and around, stepping the foot outside of your left knee. This will be our last yang type posture. So we're only going to be holding it as a short counter. Left elbow hooks around the knee as the right hand lands behind you. Roll the weight forward as you lift out of the small of your back, and then turning your belly right. Breathe into the outer hip stretch, as well as the spiral, working its way up the spine for 3. Keeping the eyes on the horizon, get taller as you twist for 2. And then 1. Coming back to center. From here, we're going to transition into head of the cow. Now, if head of the cow posture in its traditional sense does not work for your hips, Then lean back and kick your left leg straight as you then wiggle the right foot out to the opposite side of the room. Okay, we're aiming to stack the knees in this position. If the left leg is straight, just simply bring them on top of each other. If the left knee is still bent, you may need to do a little squishing. Left knee to the right, right knee to the left. Now, if there is any undue pressure in the knee joints, legs straight or bent, putting a couple towels or your block beneath your hips can certainly help to alleviate this discomfort, as we do want to be as comfortable as possible. So go ahead and drag your pillows back in a little bit closer to you. Okay, if there are enough pillows, you can stack them up in front of you, or you may just simply want to take one pillow and bring it over top of your right thigh. Hands out wide, draw the heart open, and then start to walk your hands forward as you find a comfortable point to melt into. You're dropping the eyes straight down toward the earth as you hook your chin and throat around either your pillow or around your right knee. So a little fidgeting and wiggling through the hips from side to side. Make sure that you're as comfortable as you can be while still working into that edge of change. Things may feel a little restrictive, but it should be a subtle sensation. As we recall for these yin poses, we're going to be here for a bit. Let go of your physical body. And then the real work in this type of practice is dealing with the distractions of your mind. Your thoughts will reach out towards anything they can grab a hold of, be it a sound, a thought, an image. Every time you notice the mind drifting, smile. Try to consciously make a note of where it went, what it was doing, and then come back to the breath. So that momentary acknowledgement of the distraction, that's important because that keeps us more accountable. If we just keep pushing ourselves back to the breath without being attentive to where the mind goes, we don't give ourselves any opportunity to learn or to understand the patterns that lie beneath the surface. So make that little note and then return to the breath. The next distraction arises. What was it? Smile and then come back. As the body starts to change, as the sensations taper away, you can explore wiggling your fingertips further forward, lengthening the spine out even more over top of those props, but only if there is room available to you. Don't just push deeper because that's what the ego wants you to do. Only change when the body tells you it's right. Two more breath cycles. As always, the head remains heavy and should be the last thing to lift as you start to walk your hands back in, building up to tall. Taking your pillows, go ahead and shift them forward off of your yoga mat. Undo your legs, stretch them straight out before you, and with a little windshield wiper action, sweep the feet from side to side. Crossing left shin in front of right, roll over your feet, stepping straight back to downward dog. Lift your hips up into the sky. Right side. Drawing your right leg up into the heavens, bend the knees, you roll your hips open, sweep forward, landing on the outside of your shin bone at about a 45-degree angle. Remember that your modifications are laying on the back and thread the needle, placing a block beneath your right hip as you need, and then pulling those pillows in close as we start to fold forward. So dropping to your left ear this time, so the gaze is pointed over the right side. Let the upper body fall, but only as much as your hips drop down. Okay, there should not be that sense of falling into the upper body, but as before, an equal sense of sinking through the whole pose. Soften your jaw. Relax the roof of your mouth. At the bridge of your nose, feel your sinuses open. And the eyes, like jelly, just melt away. Oftentimes, when we encounter restriction, we will default to whatever is easiest. In this case, breathing just in the top regions of the chest, because there's little to no pressure or restriction within this pose. And of course, you already know, you need to cultivate the breath where we are most stuck, most congested. Emphasizing hips, feeling them expand on the inhale, feeling them deflate on the exhale. And then in time, allowing the breath to grow further and further from that centralized point. Revel in your distractions. Each time your thoughts drift, it's another reminder to come back. If you're starting to find a little more space, you may choose to wiggle the left leg back, reaching the right hip towards the earth. Only if there is room, in fact, for you to spread out further into the pose. Three more breaths. Letting go. Don't lift with your head. Do lift from your heart. Placing the hands on the floor, push the arms straight to round up. Shift your pillows forward and out of the way as you drop the weight into your right hip, bringing that left leg up and over. So standing the foot just outside the knee as the right elbow hooks round. Left hand behind you, get tall, and then twist it out. Last dynamic posture, breathing from the left hip through the low back to the heart. Your final exhale will be your deepest twist. And then with your inhale, returning to center. So direct transition to head of the cow, wiggle your left foot to the right side of your mat as you squish your knees atop one another. So we have the outer edges of the feet on the floor, the soles of your feet pointing toward the wall behind you. If you're modifying, right leg can extend, pillows can be dropped underneath the hips. So maybe placing one cushion on top of your thigh, or maybe both out before you. Take the hands wide as you lengthen, and then start to walk it out as you melt over the right side. Let your head fall as you look into the backs of your eyelids, or just at a single point on the earth. But keeping the eyes still so as to quiet down the distractions. And we're never going to stop them, we're never going to shut the mind up. But we can limit the distractions that surface by staying focused. pointing ourselves in one direction and then smiling as we return to it, breath after breath. Try to imagine that you can feel gravity. Feel it wrapping its arms around you and drawing you down into the earth beneath. And all you have to do is let go. Succumb to that invisible force. Last couple of breaths, relaxing all of your primary sense organs. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, even the body. Remember to keep the head heavy as you bring your hands back beside you. Pushing through the arms, sit up tall, move your cushions forward and out of the way. Roll back to stretch both of your legs out before you, and then side to side, windshield wiper the feet, softening the outer hips. All right, bending both of your knees in toward your chest, drop the legs open to the sides for bound ankle posture. Now for this yin variation of Baddha Konasana, we're going to scoot the feet a little bit further away by about 5 to 8 inches. So we have a wider diamond shape within the hips. You're having a nice thick bath towel, forgive me, stacked underneath your hips will help to really release some of the pressure through the hip sockets, allowing the pose to come more naturally. Now, take your pillows, 2, 3, 4, however many feels right, and drop them down onto your heels between your knees so that you now have a cushion to drape your upper body over. Now before we actually start to lean forward, tilt just a little bit toward your cushions, reach back, untuck the flesh of the bum on your right hip, and then your left hip. Now, melting forward, drop the arms around your pillow as you lower. Upper body fully supported upon your cushions, while still feeling some sense of opening within the hips. So you can always peel off some layers until you hit that intelligent edge where the groins, the inner thighs, maybe even your low back start to experience some sensation of opening. And once you're totally situated, try to grow more and more still. One of the ways that our mind tries to avoid or escape uncomfortable experiences, be they mental, emotional, or physical, is by shifting, moving, trying to get out of the way, trying to find something different to feel. But when, instead of reacting to that experience, we just try to observe it, we create another pattern, another path to address these discomforts. And this is a more honest, more conscious path. Feel what's happening, but don't give it a label. When things are pleasant or unpleasant, try to smile at them just the same and become more connected to the experience and less focused on what you would call it. Certainly, as things start to open and release, you're welcome then to change the posture so as to find a new sensation to work with. But always maintaining that intelligent edge, that point of sustainability. If you can, try to spread your breath out to your inner knees now. Back of your heart sinking for 5 more breaths. Head as heavy as can be. Hands pressing into earth, round the spine up. Take your pillows forward, off to the left side of your mat. And then using your hands, close your knees up like a book. As you stretch the legs forward once more, windshield wiper your feet from side to side. And then take both heels to the top left-hand corner of your mat, scoot your hips right, opening your left leg out for a wide-legged forward fold. So for stage 1, we're going to sit our hips again on 1 or 2 folded up bath towels. Bending the knees deeply, place the soles of your feet flat on the floor. So even with an extreme bend of the knees, if your hips are restrictive, as you start to fold forward, this will help to elicit some lengthening of the inner thighs. Now, if you know in traditional wide-legged forward fold that you can comfortably walk your hands out or maybe drop down to your elbows, in that case, then you're welcome to straighten the legs here into this pose. Okay, we will have our pillows once more drawn right between the legs to give us some cushioning for the upper body. But before we start to lean, just like we did in the last posture, go ahead and untuck the flesh of the hip on the right side, untuck the left, so that the pelvis is now inclining forward. When you're ready, begin to walk your way out, adjusting your pillows and cushions to arrive once more at that intelligent edge. So a subtle sensation of stretching. No constriction, no locking, no muscular effort or contraction. Softening into that little bit of stretch while supporting yourself with whatever cushions you deem fit. So we're going to be in this one now for somewhere in the neighborhood of about 4 minutes. You should be already at a comfortable edge. The eyes growing more still, quieting down the mind, and the breath becoming your sole occupation. Although we're not trying to control the position of our legs to any real degree, you should at least have your toes pointed upwards, avoiding the tendency to pigeon toe the feet or to duck foot. As the hips start to open, You may not have quite enough space to peel off an entire layer, say removing a whole pillow, but by simply scooting those pillows a little further away, this will allow you to modestly drop deeper into the pose, only if you're ready. Imagining your toes and the webbing between softening for our last few breath cycles. Bring your hands back down to the mat. Head is heavy as the arms push you up slow. Take your pillows, shift them off to the right side of your mat behind you. Swinging left foot to meet the right. Spin back to the center of your mat. Feet pointed forward toward the top edge. Okay, with straight legs, windshield wiper your feet one more time. Our final seated forward fold. What we would traditionally call Paschimottanasana, legs straight. So you're welcome to put that cushion beneath your hips once more, folded up towel to elevate the hips and alleviate the extra hamstring resistance. And the knees can be bent to a small or deep degree, just so long as you're able to find some sensation. Now we'll place our two pillows over our thighs. If you stack the first pillow in close to your hips, and then the second pillow a little further away, this can take you deeper into the stretch. But if that's too much, cinch that top pillow in close to the ribs as well. So a little lean forward, a little untuck of the flesh of the bum, get your pelvis leaning toward the toes. As you're ready, start to melt your way down. Now, although the feet are close here in this variation of our seated forward fold, we're just gonna let the feet go and let them fall. So if the toes naturally drop open a little bit, we can allow this to happen, but just be careful it doesn't go to an extreme degree. We don't want our feet to look like a mermaid tail or anything. Now, once you're done with all your initial fidgeting, settling into your comfortable variation of this posture, let yourself then soften beneath the force of gravity. Let everything go but your awareness of your breath. Really enjoy that rhythm. Traditionally, with a full yogic breath, the inhalation would ascend, moving from your hips up your spine toward your heart. The exhalations, in the counter movement, descend back down, melting awareness back into the foundation of your pelvis. Inhales encourage length and space. Exhales, passive, softening, melting. Visualizing the stretch that you're feeling can help to tether your attention as much as you fixate upon the breath. As the inhalation moves, observe how the feeling within the pose changes a little. And then likewise, as the exhale leaves the body, we have another subtle shift. Soften the neck, especially at the base of your skull. to relax the backs of your ears and the space between them. The back of your heart leads you into the posture. Where are the most predominant sensations? And are you truly breathing into those regions? It may seem like an eternity. We've got 2 more minutes left in this final forward fold. Any little adjustments necessary to come back to that place where you're feeling relatively comfortable. Down to about the last minute. And on average, you take about 13 breaths every minute. So if you like, you can just quietly count those breaths to yourself, making them long and deep. Drawing the hands to the floor, just about halfway down the thigh. Keep the head heavy and push your way slowly up to tall. Moving your cushions off your mat to the right side. Take that folded up cushion out from underneath your hips. And one more time, a little side to side sweeping of the feet. And now we're going to be transitioning down onto our backs for our last supine posture. But you may already be noticing that the body has cooled down quite a bit as we're coming to the close of our practice. So if you'd like to add on any layers or grab a hold of a blanket or something nearby for your final Shavasana, then do so now. As you're ready, slowly lower yourself down onto your spine. Bringing both of your knees in toward your chest, give yourself a little hug, maybe a little rocking from side to side as you ground the hips and the small of your back into the earth. So a simple supine twist. With your knees side by side, bringing them in close to the heart with an inhale, drop them off to the left side on your exhale. As the knees fall left, you can adjust your hips by tucking your left hip underneath a little if this will benefit you. Then extending your arms out at shoulder height, palms facing the ceiling, so your shoulder blades more neatly shift away from the neck and down into your hips. Now let the arms fall heavily, the legs passively drop and sink. Turn your chin to the right and look out over the shoulder toward that far wall as you breathe from hip to heart on inhale, heart to hip On exhale. With this very gentle unwinding of your back, you should really feel a sense of lengthening and releasing. If you're not, on the other hand, you may be concentrating too much on the movement of your belly. So just imagine your kidneys expand and contract. The backs of your lungs filling up the backs of the ribs and then softening and feeling the ribcage shrink. That whole body breath is what we aim to achieve here. So make sure you're not trying to do anything other than breathe. Your legs should be heavy. And even if you're finding your right shoulder, right arm is not connected with the earth, you're not trying to push it down. Just let yourself go. And with this exhalation, bring your chin back to center. Inhale, lift your knees, reach around, hug in close. And then opening out, knees dropping to the right side, adjusting the hips as you need. Arms opening out at shoulder height, palms upward facing as you look left. Relax your hips, your ankles, your toes. Soften the shoulders and the upper body as it spreads wide across the earth beneath you. Breathing thoughtfully. Letting yourself go. As you finish off your exhalation, turn your head to center. Inhale your knees one more time, reach around for a hug, sinking the small of your back into the floor, and then stretching out long for our final Shavasana, corpse posture. So open the feet out wider than your hips as you then allow your toes to fall away from center. Turn the palms of the hands into an upward facing position, and then traction your arm bones down away from your ears a little bit to slide the shoulders into the back of your waist. The chin may tuck just a millimeter closer to the chest to lengthen your neck. As the eyes shut, consciously soften your primary sense organs. The eyes melt down into the earth. The ears open wide. At the bridge of your nose, your sinuses relax, as do the tongue and the mouth, and even your upper palate. You make sure that the biting surfaces of your teeth have separated, which may mean, as your jaw relaxes, that the lips might open ever so slightly. Picture your spinal cord from your tailbone to the base of your skull has become a silken rope. Imagine that rope sinking and softening into the floor beneath you. The belly naturally rises and falls with the breath. So let your awareness drop down into the lowest regions of your tummy. Just like a baby, fill and expand on the inhale, and then passively let the belly fall on the exhale. Turning within, listening to what the body, the breath and the mind have to tell you. Gaining insight while remaining objective. Breath after breath. Begin first with deepening of your inhales. Next, wiggling fingers and toes. And then from those very small movements, allowing them to grow a bit larger, wheeling feet from side to side, drawing the legs together as one. Lifting the arms up long overhead, point your feet, and as you inhale, stretch out from your fingers to your toes before softening and sinking back down into the mat. Take your two knees in, reach around for a little squeeze, and then rolling onto your left side, use the strength of your arms to push up into a comfortable seated posture. Once you find yourself planted through your hips, lift the spine tall, crown of the head rising. Bring the palms of the hands together at heart center, and as your eyes softly shut, let your chin bow forward just slightly. And take this first opportunity and thank yourself for your practice, pouring gratitude into the efforts you brought to your mat today. And then, as always, reaching that gratitude outwards to your fellow students, wherever they may be, to your friends, your family members, your acquaintances, and those in your life that antagonize you. Really feeling thankful for their place in your life and how they encourage you to grow and change every day. We are honored that you would share your practices with us. Namaste.